First of all, thank you so much to Piers Fox, Jeff Weiner, Scott Lachey for doing this. Honestly, like, I think we're all looking for these times to connect with one another, and PSFK has always brought such a great group together. So I was over the moon to get this invite from Piers and from the PSFK team. So as Piers said, this was something that we had done a little while ago. And at the time, wellness was already a rocket ship, and engaging the wellness consumer was already like one of the most exciting and dynamic environments in the world today. And holy cow, like everything else, it has changed just so dramatically over the last few weeks. And, you know, I think of this as one of the great topics that will carry us through and hopefully be magnified and get bigger in all of our lives and all of the, you know, for us, for our planet, and for our future as we're coming out of this crazy time. So I want to really get into this really quickly because we've got some amazing panelists today to talk to. So, you know, a couple things. Apparently Deepak Chopra crashed his website with over 1 million people signing on for group meditation last night.
Wow.
So everyone is obviously really looking for soulful, emotional connection for themselves, for their families. And it's, you know, listen, it's up to so many people to make this world better, but I've got 4 amazing entrepreneurs here today that have joined me that are innovators in a wide range of spaces. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves really quickly. Let's start with Rizal Hamdallah.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Jeremy, and everyone. And again, Piers and PSFK, again, just to repeat what Jeremy said, thank you for inviting me to come back here again, and also to have the opportunity to talk with the people in the industry. And, you know, despite all of the situation that we're facing today, we're still able to connect. We're still able to talk to each other. We're still able to share. So this is, I think, a good way to continue the conversation inside without needing to travel and whatsoever. So thank you again. Again, my name is Rizal Hamdallah. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for Ocean Spray. And I've been with the company almost a year, next month, actually. So prior to this, I worked for Tyson Foods and SC Johnson and other big companies. But I'm very excited because our company, Ocean Spray, is transforming from a juice company to a health and wellness company. So I'm excited to be here and to talk more with all of you.
Right on. Thank you, Rizal. I'm going to move down the line over here and go to Lou Sagar, somebody who I've gotten to know quite well and is a real pioneer in this space. Lou, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do?
Hi everyone. Thanks for putting this together. I'm the CEO, founder of the Alchemist Kitchen. Our flagship is located in Lower Manhattan on the Bowery, 21 East 1st Street. And we are dedicated to educating consumers to the power of plants, particularly with botanical medicines, herbal remedies, mushroom health, quite involved now with cognitive health as well. And right now, of course, we're fielding this crisis. We're open, serving food every day to the local community, which has been very rewarding, supporting front lines health workers with plant-based food, and you know, taking advantage of the online space and doing our best to keep supplies to service the tremendous demand for immune boosters and other herbal remedies for preventative health. So it's been a very, very challenging, very difficult time, but rewarding in the sense that people are going to get a wake-up call about health and wellness in this period for sure.
Yeah, right on, Lou. Let's move down the line. Sofia, Laurell.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Thanks, Piers. Thanks, Jeremy. I am co-founder, co-CEO of TinyOrganics. We are a organic baby and toddler food company. And our goal, really, the big audacious goal, is to create a world where children love vegetables and healthy foods. We do this by introducing our child to their first 100 flavors and textures. And we just launched end of last year. You know, silver lining for us is we're really a product that is a necessity, you know, food for your child. And also we are delivering, we're frozen. So, you know, I think for us, just, you know, the main thing is how can we be helpful to people at this moment. So yeah, excited to be chatting with all you guys.
Thanks, Sofia. And Kelle Jacobs.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Pierce, PSFK, and all of you for having me today. So my name is Kelle Jacob, and after spending 10 years with the Estee Lauder companies in roles ranging from product development, corporate innovation, building 2 brands for them, and my last role in Estee Lauder Ventures, working in the retail expansion of many of their brands, I experienced a major burnout. I was diagnosed as premenopausal at 33. And rather than going through medications and things like that, I made the choice to lean heavily into wellness. Studied with Ayurvedic doctors, really start to understand plant medicine and integrate them into my life, things like meditation as well. And it was through that and my ability to heal myself through these wellness actions that I really leaned heavily into plant medicine and began to explore its implications for skincare. And it really wasn't until, it'll actually be a year on Monday, my birthday, when my father passed, I experienced the worst acne I'd ever seen, and nothing worked. And I began formulating, because I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than having a breakout or looking awful with a broken heart. I started to integrate plant medicine into my skincare and develop formulas. And I saw there's such a huge opportunity for skincare to not only integrate holistic approach, but plant medicine to really start to treat and target stress and hormonal induced skin conditions. And so we are launching officially Balance Beauty at the end of this year with the goal of offering skincare products that specifically target stress and hormonal skin conditions.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kelle. Along with me at the Science Project, I have Elias Keene, who is my head of production, is going to help me collect questions and answers for the entire group. So there's a Q&A panel. I believe it's at the bottom. You can put your questions in there as they come to you. And I'm going to try to cut us off around 2:25 if possible to field some questions. So with no further ado, let's jump into it. One of the first things I wanted to talk about was community. You know, I find that community is so inextricably tied into wellness, and, you know, this feeling that we're all connected, our health is connected, it's connected with our planet. And, you know, despite what we've seen with panic buying and all these silly headlines, I do really believe crisis brings out the best in people. And, you know, it's really important for brands also to bring a community together. So I'd like to just start by talking about what your brands are doing and how community really plays into your guys' brands. Why don't we start out with Lou, just because Alchemist Kitchen has just got such an incredible community has taken over like the entire tri-state area in many ways, from a small, modest store in downtown Manhattan.
I think our goal right now is very hyper local. So we have 145,000 residents within 3 blocks of our location. 25% of those residents are here. They're local. An awful lot have left the city. And what we're doing is trying to be very mindful that we're living at a time where, you know, we've got to focus on the hyper local. We call it hyper local residents. We're going to every building. We're connecting with people who would like delivery. We've never done delivery before. We've created a whole menu. We have a little bit of a soup serving. We also, in our neighborhood, we have a fairly significant homeless or halfway house community of characters who live in and around the Bowery, and they're trying to do our best to teach them about social distancing and give them some education. So it's just trying to show up in the reality of this this very difficult time. Fortunately, although all three of our locations three other retail locations are shut down, fortunately, we've invested in online and being able to have some ability to maintain a portion of our staff to service online business. We have a hotline where somebody can call in and speak to an herbalist. There's an awful lot of mental health, stress issues, and it's a very good time for people to get reacquainted with CBD for the purposes of stress and anxiety. So we have our hands full, but really I think right now it's all about being good New York, being an essential business, being New York focused, and every day we have a great story, whether it's a nurse or it's a doctor or it's just an older customer or a younger customer. So that's pretty much it, trying to do the best we can.
That's awesome. Thanks, Lou. How about Sofia? How you've got obviously an interesting community of young parents and people who are juggling being parents at home and also working, and like you already have a high stress sometimes. How are you engaging community and creating communications as well around bringing people together?
Yeah, absolutely right. And what we did early days, community has been kind of the core of what we've been building ever since we started Tiny. We actually had these kind of tiny supper clubs across the US. So accessibility is really one of our moats. I'm an immigrant from Finland and my co-founder is a mom from the Midwest. So that's been kind of key to what we've been building ever since we started Tiny. I think in this circumstance, we've first of all just asked our customers and our community, how can we be part of your life? Like, what do you want to hear from us? I think, I've seen great content from a lot of brands, but the last thing we want to do is come across tone deaf in any way. So that's been, the first thing we did. And, for us, the main thing is really kind of meeting the parent where she is or where he is. So we do offer to deliver to, a lot of our parents have moved or have left their homes right now and are with parents or at more rural areas. Probably most of our consumers are in urban areas. So they definitely potentially have made the move to be closer to parents. Because, I think the biggest challenge for parents right now, you're at home. Most parents are at home, the ones who can be at home with their kids. And what we've seen is being really, helpful for our parents is almost creating this daily schedule, because obviously none of us have schedules right now, but what do you do with your toddler? So we've had, anything from Montessori tips to essentially a daily schedule for if you're a parent of a 19 to 21 month old. So again, it's very much like those parents are in it together, meaning age bracket wise. I think overall it's kind of empathy, understanding, humor, and escape, and kind of toying the line as to what's okay right now. But we know that especially, obviously different channel per channel, but on Instagram for sure, people are looking for escape. And, there's been some great memes and great parenting memes, and we try to share those as well. And the last thing I will mention is the supper clubs that we were supposed to have one in Chicago a few weeks ago. So we plan to have a virtual one. It will be a Zoom, but we will have prompts before the supper club, essentially, where it's a topic. So they're all themed dinners, and we're going to do those on Zoom.
That's awesome. I mean, a whole little marketing manual could be written about the transition, the online supper club. You mentioned something that, you and Kelle mentioned the other day around humor and levity. And, I thought that was really just so important when it comes to engaging people's kind of hearts and souls and, the wellness of people. That messaging, that light messaging while not being tone deaf is so important. I mean, Rizal, you're dealing with such scale right now. Like how does Ocean Spray like speak to modern customers? How are you guys engaging? And is there a place for this in, you know, at a scale like this? You know, our country is so diverse and so big, and our world is so big and diverse. How does community play in with a gigantic brand like you guys?
Yeah, so I think, well, thank you for the question. And first of all, as a farmers-owned company, which not a lot of people know about Ocean Spray, we have almost 800 farmers and growers. We are responsible to also help our farmers and their family that potentially impacted with this COVID-19. So we have partnered with government, with Red Cross, with a lot of NGOs as well to create meals donation. So we did this 2 weeks ago, all the partnership, and we execute last week. We distributed 100,000 meals across the country. And that's just the beginning. And personally, it's also, we talk about it, it's probably small than what the world is actually needed. But we're not gonna stop there. So to talk about innovation, and we have a lot of innovation literally launching, supposed to be in the next few months. This is actually a great challenge in a way to rethink how we innovate and how we launch our innovation. So I'm challenging my team. This is our new normal. People have argument, oh, maybe this is gonna last for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. I said, I don't care. I don't think that we will come back to the same point 3 months ago. There is a big hit to our head, to our consumers, somehow change the spectrum. So then how can we be ready to face that spectrum? So I'm challenging my team to reframe it. And I think one of the most critical finding is it's no longer about selling in. It's all about having understanding and build empathy with our consumer, that also probably our community, in introducing our new products. And sometimes we partner with retail. We probably now to think about retails differently, because today a lot of big customers or big retailers move their reset time, move their innovation timing. They just cannot cope with additional new products. They have to deal with their, you know, primaries like food and beverage. We're lucky enough because we're part of the essential. So our supply chain, our manufacturing is our heroes today, because they have to continue producing it for the country and the world. But to that point, I think we are in the middle of reframing our innovation, and hopefully within the next few weeks, we still able to launch, we still able to communicate with empathy with our consumer differently. And I'm personally still excited about knowing what is that looks like. This is the unknown. We're not so sure whether this is going to be successful, but hey, at this point, it's no longer about success or not successful. At least we give ourselves a try. So that's where we are moving forward with our approach to innovation and community.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, so many consumer journeys that we've spent so much time thinking about are being demolished right now, and new ones are being written like as we speak.
Yes.
I'd like to talk, Kelle, I'd like to know a little bit about starting a new brand right now. You know, the wellness market has exploded obviously over the last 2-3 years, and now it's changing so dramatically. As you're looking at your launch and this new wellness consumer, do you find that you're more excited, more scared? Do you think that there's some new factors in launching a new brand right now that are just completely different than they were 6 months ago?
Yeah, no, we're definitely excited. This is a huge moment for the wellness industry, and everything that we've known, we've seen is just being amplified, right? You have this consumer that's placing a priority on self-care, but you also have this consumer that's being bombarded with so many things, right? Like what to do, what to drink. Are you drinking lemon water? Are you doing Pilates? Are you working out? Are you journaling? Are you meditating? And it can almost be overwhelming. So for us, I love Rizal's point about empathy. It's really understanding where our consumer is. And how does a brand become a resource and a guide and kind of help them through and give them context to all of these things, right? So we have a product that, you know, even before all of this, you know, we were really believed so much that what happens in your skin is a direct reflection to what's happening around you and the impact of stress. And as I speak to a lot of our, you know, our kind of our focus group of people, everyone's like, I'm not wearing makeup. Why am I breaking out? I'm like, because you're stressed. So now the world is kind of realizing the need for our product, but our responsibility goes far beyond that, right? In knowing that our consumer needs to understand, you know, everyone's talking about meditation, but how do you do that? And so especially for me, coming from a large prestige brands where it was kind of like, this is a beautiful red lipstick. Why? Because we say so, versus what we saw with the shift in social media, turning of, you know, how are brands being a friend or a rally cry or kind of a group you could belong to. I think we're going to see another shift in the role of brand in a post-corona world. And particularly as it pertains to wellness, it's how can you hold space, and how can you be a resource, and how can you support them, because it's a multifaceted and holistic experience. And so that's really where we're placing our efforts. You know, we're Balance Beauty will be launching at the end of November, but leading up to that, there's so many ways that we can support this consumer and really establish ourselves and hopefully become a resource to her beyond just the product.
Yeah, I mean, to really succeed, I mean, and obviously in any category, but especially in wellness, you've got to have such soulfulness and care at your heart and soul. And, you know, I'm hoping that we, you know, can come out of this. And just hearing you guys talk is so inspiring for me, just because I really have a lot of faith that these are going to be the places that are going to bring, you know, people back. And, you know, make them more present as to what's going on in the world today. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and we don't have a ton of time, so I'm just going to get to it really quick. I want to talk about scale and range across this country. And I know we have people from across the world here, but wellness, I think, you know, sometimes it has difficulty getting out of upmarket yoga. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but how do we engage people on a larger level to really understand? Because, you know, in some regards, wellness in one place might be going out and hunting your own meat, and another place might be, you know, doing Pilates and CBD beauty. Like, how are we like really engaging people on a wider level, so we can really bring this out of, I don't want to say niche because it's obviously huge, but Kelle, why don't you dive right into it? Because
Yeah. I mean, look what we're doing right now, right? Like, this whole situation has literally accelerated the role that technology can play in bringing people together. You know, I feel like necessity is the mother of invention, and all this is done, I feel like, is now just kind of remove that friction from entry, where maybe no one was thinking about going on a Zoom call for a meditation class, but after having about 20 million a day, it doesn't seem that far-fetched of an idea. And so for brands, we now have so many tools that were already there, but I have a consumer that's more receptive to engaging across these different platforms and levers. So we're really excited about it. And, you know, we also now as a brand are thinking about accessibility is key. And this becomes, especially just having compassion and empathy for what everyone's going through. How do you make this accessible, either from price point, but also making sure we're using technology to our best of our ability to touch as many people as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. You know, Sofia, we talked a little bit about scale across the country too. And I was so impressed because you had said you had people engaged in all 50 states with, you know, and I look at north of, you know, the United States is pretty diverse. I was pretty impressed by that. How are you engaging the wellness consumer across all 50 states?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Exactly that. For us, accessibility is a core component of what we're building. If you look at food across the board, I'm sure Rizal will have some thoughts on this as well, but oftentimes some of the more lower income areas have the biggest challenges just around food deserts and not necessarily having those healthy options around. So our big audacious goal with TinyOrganics is to be part of WIC, which is the food stamps for moms, which over 50% of moms in the US are part of, which is a shocking statistic. We're partners with Partnership for Healthier America as well, Michelle Obama's organization as well. And, you know, the idea is that, you know, we want to be accessible for everybody. This is not just for the coast, this not just for the 1%. And I think that's kind of what we're working towards. And, you know, early days, we knew that we wanted to be available nationwide. To Kelly's point about price point, we're trying to push the price point as low as we can as well. But essentially, as an example, like Daily Harvest has done a really nice job in being available in kind of second-tier cities and not, and again, if you don't have access to a sweet green style or even just a fresh produce. So that's, for us, accessibility is absolutely key. And I think that's something that we work towards, you know, every day.
Awesome. Lou, I have to ask you, because you are so hyper local, but I mean, if we could replicate what Alchemist Kitchen has done with the amount of caring and engagement it has for its community and create resonance in, you know, 100, 200 great epicenters across the world or across the US, you would move millions. I mean, how do you look at scale and what you do across, you know, the US and beyond?
Well, you know, I think the only thing I could really contribute there is that the paradox is, you know, we have had the blessing of having a retail location, you know, particularly on the Bowery, you know, several thousand square feet, and where we held events and, you know, built community through people actually coming to a physical place. And in the process of that being disrupted, you know, dramatically, you know, we've had a 250% increase in sales online. And the fact of the matter is that all of the events that we've done, all of the classes, we're now doing online. So I think I think that this is a moment where the new normal will not be, retail will not come back in the same way that it already was struggling. The cost per square foot to lease and maintain physical locations, staffing costs, and we're not a restaurant, you know, we're not per se a restaurant where you're dining all the time. So I think that it's going to be very, very scalable, but I think the way people are going to connect in the physical is going to be in a new model, because
yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Those that are, I mean, 30-40% of our sales are coming from repeat customers who originated in the physical space. So, you know, I don't think this is a pleasant time to speculate too much on the future, except that you know, the herbal supplement industry as part of the health and wellness ecosystem has just not been a real friend to plants. You know, the pursuit of, you know, weight loss and muscle enhancement and 3,500 GNC locations and all of that has not been appealing to the more conscious consumer. But I think we're going to see just an explosion of interest in plant-based health, which is our focus, you know. And
I would agree with you.
I think physical will have to get reinvented. I mean, even now we're saying to ourselves, well, gee, look at these rents that we've been paying and the cost, and you know, really makes you think about a new model. You know.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm going to jump into some questions, and then we can go back to a few other topics really quick right now. But first of all, somebody wished Kelle a happy birthday. So I don't know if it's
happy birthday.
If it is, happy birthday, Kelle.
On Monday, yeah. Monday.
That's awesome. Gosh, this is a really good one over here. I mean, what tips can, you know, this is a little bit just about mindfulness right now. And, you know, some of these questions are definitely spiritual that we're getting over here. You know, some are like based on the wellness side of things that are like, you know, Sandra Ariaga, I hope I pronounced your name wrong, wrote a great question over here. Do you think we'll be more focused on social, emotional, and spiritual wellness and overcome the body and fitness obsession? And yeah, you know, wellness is obviously has like these sort of polar sides of things. One is really like this obsession around body and fitness, and one is social, emotional, and spiritual wellness, which is arguably much more important right now, and a huge part of wellness. So, Rizal, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think my perspective, it's gonna be the awareness of emotional wellness is going to go bigger than before, big time. So I think they are aware before about emotional healthness, but they don't actually do anything about it. For example, only 1 within 6 Americans that actually have some emotional challenge. So now probably with all this new COVID-19, it changed the way they see themselves, right? So in that case, I can see that the awareness and the actions towards finding some solution within the emotional wellness will be increasing. Physical, I will looking at this as a static because people still need the movement to feel good. They probably just identify a different location or venues to do it through virtual, online, at home, you name it. I don't see one of them becoming lower than the others. It's just a spectrum. It depends. It's very individual. So when you talk about health and wellness between how many people here, like 65 people probably, the answer will be 65 answers. So I think in the end, each of individuals will have one or the other, but in summary, I can see both of them are critically important and continually important, even though we have been through with this tough situation.
It's great. Thank you, Rizal. Sofia, where does spiritual and emotional play in with like a brand like TinyOrganics?
Yeah, so for us, obviously, with parents, it's appended everybody's lives. But as mentioned, you know, most parents are at home with their children, so it's almost like 2 jobs, you know. And I think, you know, it's interesting. I'm Finnish originally, and I think I mentioned born and raised in Finland, and I've lived here almost 10 years now in the US, but I've only recently, I have a lot of friends, including Kelle, who are really kind of pioneers in the mindfulness and wellness space. But I've really looked into around meditation for children as well. So Calm, Michael is a good friend, founder of Calm, and I think it's amazing. We're potentially doing something with them as well, just around mindfulness for children. And I think also if you look at diet and us being a food company, I mean, that has a massive impact as well. And to go back kind of to what we were saying earlier around, you know, giving kind of all children, you know, the level playing field. And, you know, it's actually, it was a sad article, you know, where I think most of us are in New York, kind of the epicenter of the epidemic, and for a lot of children, obviously the only healthy meal that they get is at school. So obviously New York is giving out free meals as well, but essentially a lot of children, you know, just don't have access to, they don't have a computer at home, for example. So there are these charities. We've looked a lot into how we can help and how we can give back, but there's charities who are giving books to children as well. But I think even just from a parent's perspective, you know, how do you stay sane? How do you stay sane in these moments? I think one more thing I will mention is, I think what we talk about a lot at Tiny is just to give yourself the permission to, you know, not have all those rules in place that you had around screen time or you know, eating only vegan or not playing with certain toys again, I think the rule book goes out the window at this moment. And I think that's, again, give yourself permission. You're doing a great job. That's kind of been the message that we've been trying to convey, for sure.
That's a great point. That positive affirmation. My wife used to always make fun of me because I was like a hippie in college. It's still, you know, and she's like, the hippies were never nice to me. They always were so too overly principled, right? You know. I think that balance is important. Kelle, can I just ask you a little bit about that spiritual and emotional wellness part of your brand? Because you and I had a chance to connect personally on some of this stuff, and it was really intricately tied with your mission here.
Yeah, I honestly feel that most people that are in the wellness space and have chose to make it their business and what they do, spend their time on, is because they believe it, right? They've had some type of experience. Like I personally have I'm a certified meditation teacher. I understand the power of meditation. I understand the power of plant medicine. This is something I practice every day, and I feel compelled to bring it to people because I know it works and it heals. Now you have a world where it's very hard when you're kind of busy and you're kind of keeping yourself occupied. You're going to all these events. We've been forced to sit still. On top of that, we're going through a trauma as a world, going through this, my mom's physician is on the front line, and that's scary. Like everyone's dealing with these things. And I pulled from my own experience of grief. And actually there's a great article in Harvard Business Review that I was reading today about just that kind of classifies what we're going through as grief. And so when you go through something like this that is beyond what like a new handbag can buy or a new lipstick can buy or, a few drinks can cover, these are real things. And you start to really feel this pull of you need something more. And I personally know, just having gone through grief of losing a parent, that meditation, and that's where you find spirituality. And that's where these tools of I'm not talking about just praying to a God or anything like that, even finding that strength within you, right? And how do you give yourself the resolve to make it through such a challenging time? And literally everyone is being faced with those questions to some capacity and needs to find some type of inner strength. And at this point where none of us have the answers. So we look to things like spirituality. We look to things like people that have seen themselves go through similar challenges as a resource. So we look for those tools. And that's why this is I think for the authentically grounded wellness brands that are here really to serve people, this is a time to do that work. And this is why we're here. And it's interesting too, I think for brands, all brands, this is a really defining moment. So for example, when we were developing our line, it was very important for us to be a sustainable company, and we wanted to have the least amount of impact on the environment. So we chose to make everything locally sourced. By making that decision, now where everything's kind of shut down and you're having problems importing things, we're still able to launch just by making that authentic choice to do things the right way. So I think this is going to be not just a defining moment for wellness, but a defining moment for brands as a whole. And so, to really be there for people and their consumers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelle. Can I jump in quickly?
Yeah, of course.
First of all, Kelle, if you can share a link on chat to that article, I think we'd all appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
I read it too. It was one of the best ones I have. Yeah. Really.
And for the whole panel, I think reading between the lines, and maybe not between the lines, some of the questions that are coming back, I think there's a bit of a pushback between some of the things that you may be talking about and the practicalities of the situation.
Oh yeah.
Cleanliness, hygiene. Well, there seems to be. So there seems to be the pushback is, sure, you're talking about something more spiritual and herbal but we've got an issue to face now. What is the impact on wellness industry today? Perhaps you can comment.
I can start because we talk about this a lot at work, and this is valid. This is a valid point. I'm gonna take a look from a product perspective. Food safety and quality assurance now is becoming the #1 critical, important, and consumers are seeking transparency from company. How do you make this? What is the process? What is the ingredients? Where? So then we all responsible to make sure our audit with our plant, our co-packers, really, really thorough, because if not, we jeopardize our potential future business, if you will. In the same time, we also jeopardize the trust with consumer. This is becoming the #1 must-have with predicted in the next 6 to 18 months. Second, new product. The way we think about trial, in the past, it's all about sampling. And when we are in the food and beverage industry, it's all about taste. You have to try this, right? So then the challenge, I'm challenging my team as well, like think about sampling 2.0. when consumer is hesitant to try a product from someone, I don't know whether you're actually hygienic enough, or this is actually meet what I'm looking for or my standard. So all of this question that in the past did not even think about, now it's in their list of questions before they actually accepting any product samples. So this is something that I think becoming more important than anything else. My only advice to my team is find the empathy on what hygiene and cleanliness that important for our users across every single touch point. If we move away from retail to e-commerce, how that shipment looks like, can we provide even a tissue or cleaners directly when they open the box? Or when we send a product sampling, can we actually provide a guide how you use it in a hygiene way? So we need to do it more steps, because our consumer today is expecting this becoming the new normal. So that's a very valid point. And I think a lot of companies are really trying to figure out, especially within the wellness industry, as well as categories that focusing on raw ingredients, fresh ingredient, or even frozen. Consumer having this question now, whether, like, I'm talking with some of my friends within salad industry, they're like, oh, Rizal, my business is really going down. People seeking for cooked product because their mind go through with, oh, at least it's cooked, all the bacteria and all the viruses are killed and whatsoever. This is going through. So I think we have to think this very carefully. This is no longer becoming a second or afterthought. They're willing to try and to go further. They actually probably use this as their first lens to try or even to change their products to another brand. So that's my point of view about hygiene and cleanliness towards our product today.
Yeah, this is a big issue for beauty, right? Like, think about it, going through a Sephora and it's all about testing and play. Like, even if we get through this in like 90 days, I anticipate the impact this has on that experience will last for years, right? Like, no one feels like picking up a lipstick tester right now. So how do we, but it's such an important role in beauty, right? Like, even a luxury beauty consumer, like, you want to feel like the formula feels incredible. How do you relay that experience? So yes, it's things like sampling, but it's also thinking about being creative with how do you kind of convey that experience of the brand and that sense of play, or what you're trying, you know, in lieu of a tactile experience in a hyper, you know, germ conscious world post-corona.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, Rizal, to your point about being a food company as well. Same thing for us. We're cooked and we're frozen, and we've gotten a lot of questions from customers, obviously, like about food safety protocols and where do we produce, and you know what's the supply chain look like. But I think in that sense, it's a silver lining for our company specifically is that the fact that it is made fresh, cooked, and then shipped frozen. And I think even just around frozen, a lot of people don't know that frozen is the next best thing after fresh, you know, and back home in Finland, frozen aisle has many healthy choices. But again, like whether it's frozen or canned, we've got a lot of questions around like, what should I be eating right now? What's the most healthy thing that I can create with these ingredients that I have at home right now? So absolutely agree. And I love the idea of sampling 2.0 as well. Like, what does it look like? Yeah, that's something for us all to think about.
Yes, it will impact the whole industry.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough nut to crack over there. I mean, being able to get people to taste and feel and touch your products. Bart Higgins was asking a question around the role of retail for luxury and beauty and wellness brands. I mean, I've been building innovative retail for 8-9 years now, and this is going to completely, like, retail has taken such lumps anyway. This is going to completely change the retail platform as a whole. I mean, maybe we could talk a little bit about that. I think as brands, we sort of instinctually know that we have to be safe, transparent. We have to connect with consumers. We have to be empathetic and authentic right now, and in our own special ways. But tactically and business-wise, I mean, what are we going to do? Like, chop it, you know, when physical retail is just going to be so decimated and really just change so dramatically right now. And, you know, Lou, I know you're feeling it in real time. Kelle, you're planning for it, and Rizal, you know, it's a huge portion of what you do. And so, yeah, anybody feel free to jump in on this one. It's a real bowl of worms, I guess, on this one.
I mean, maybe this is the time that retail becomes something completely different, right? Like, I almost see there, as I think about for my brand, there are things we want to invest in where we're connecting with our consumers. So prior to this, I was in San Francisco, I was meeting with retailers that were specifically in the beauty space that offer this experience. Now I feel like that onus is on us, but they have this great community and they hold space for that. And so they have a community that I want access to. And that's exciting. But then there's the actual, like, who's getting things to what in this kind of post-corona world, and, you know, how are we ensuring the cleanliness of our product, and, you know, and the sterility of that. I don't know if that's a word. And so then it's like, do I look to things like an Amazon that's really just about getting the product in people's hands and like just the transaction part of it. And so I wonder if then retail, and also hearing Lou, just how Alchemist Kitchen, I love that space. I'm there very often for classes, but it's still happening. So that community still exists. So maybe it's not even that we're looking to retailers to help us with that transaction, that we need to look to kind of other experts and other forums for that, but we start looking to retailers for the communities and the space, the communities that they're able to engage. And like, I want to be where my consumer is and where I can be most helpful to her. And that's how I'm starting to look at retailers now, because it's not just going to be about the experience and relaying the brand. That becomes, I feel, that's on me now, you know, as a brand.
Yeah, it's like retail is media, you know, that's been discussed many times.
I have a quick kind of a little bit of levity, is that, you know, when the buildings department, they were coming around, and the fire department were coming around to evaluate whether they would give you permission to be open as an essential business, you know. They came in and, okay, so we have a kitchen and, you know, we do takeout and so on. And we said, you know, but we're also a pharmacy, you know, but we're an herbal pharmacy. And, you know, we were, you know, the health food stores have not been allowed to be open, you know. So the essentialness came down to two issues. One, food, because people need food, fresh food. And two, you would be allowed to be open if you were a convenience store. So they rejected us as a pharmacy, because a pharmacy, you must be prescribing medications, you know, that's pharmacy. But as a convenience store, you can be selling toiletries, you know, you can sell a toothbrush, you can sell toothpaste, you can sell, you know. So it was very interesting to us working with, on the one hand, the city saying, of course, you can be open, but, you know, dining, but, oh, yes, it's okay, you can sell the conveniences. So they gave us some permission, you know, limited permission to sell conveniences. And it brings up in retail, what is essential? You know, I mean, in the context of a local community seeking food, looking for social engagement, we have a limit of how long people can stay in the store. Every day that goes by, people want to stay longer because they're so cooped up. You know, They want social engagement. They want to just talk to people. And of course, so many people are alone. You know, it's of course the ones that have the kids and they're going nuts, but there are many that are alone and they're taking walks and they're trying to have some social engagement. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to recreate retail in the physical, but perhaps the nature of it, the rent structures and everything, that will have to shift to some extent.
That's awesome, Lou. Well, guys, we only have a few more minutes over here, and you know, I'm never going to replace Deepak Chopra and his meditation for millions. So I was thinking we would end with just like one nice tip from everybody around mindfulness and what people can do to just unstress themselves these days and just kind of feel good and embrace wellness, safety, and kind of healing for our industry, our planet. And yeah, so maybe Lou, maybe you could start one tip for wellness and stress.
Go out and hug a tree.
Love it.
Go hug
Sophia?
a tree, because the trees are such a gateway to love and the planet Earth. So I hug a tree every day.
Thank you for that, Lou. It's beautiful.
That's
Right on,
nice.
bro.
I love
Sophia?
that. Yeah, I'm kind of going to repurpose what I said earlier, that the rule book is out the window. Like, just forgive yourself for this time, and just, again, take time to really, for me, what works for me is just, even if it's 10 minutes of fresh air, even just opening the window. And I think that's, that's worked well for me.
Beautiful. Thank you. Rizal?
Yeah, I think for me, there are two things. One is focus on things that you can control. And then second is, this is when we all tested as human, then be human.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you. Kelly?
I would say the thing that's gotten me through everything is meditation. Even just 5 minutes of closing your eyes and just listening and following your breath, inhales and deep exhales, does tremendous work. If you think about it, it's almost like we're in an ocean and we're just kind of looking at the waves thrashing about and we're all kind of reacting to it. When you kind of anchor down in your breath, it takes you from that surface kind of craziness and takes you to kind of the calmness. It's like at the bottom of the sea, So it also kind of changes your perspective in that. And it literally 5 minutes of just really deep breaths. It's called mindfulness, and just being mindful of your breath. 20, you'll feel like you can handle the world, but just 5 to start.
I've been doing the Wim Hof breathing online, which is good.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Sophia, Rizal, Kelly, Lou. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing, and thanks to everybody who joined us today and asked all those great questions. Thanks for being part of this again, and see you on the other side, folks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Happy birthday, Kelly.
Bye.